You left the 9 to 5. Now you're the CEO, CFO, HR, and the tax department. We'll map your cash flow into 5 simple accounts, show the buffer and salary system in action, and cover essentials freelancers ignore. SEP Solo 401k, HSA, and disability insurance. Plus, a cautionary story that proves high income means nothing without discipline. Watch to trade fear for focus.
Don't miss a beat. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and show some love with a like.
Okay, so picture this. You absolutely nailed the job interview. You got the apartment, signed the lease, you've been super careful with budgeting for groceries, maybe even doing the whole Sunday meal prep thing. And yet, somehow, the closer you get to that next paycheck, the more you feel that familiar, kind of terrifying squeeze. Where did all the money go?
It's that feeling, isn't it? Like you're running on a financial treadmill that just keeps speeding up, and you're convinced you're the only one struggling to keep up.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the financial reality of Gen Z. We're talking folks born roughly between 1997 and 2012. They're really facing this unique economic landscape that basically breaks the old budgeting rules.
And we're going beyond that simplistic advice, just cut out the lattes. We need to look at the bigger picture, the structural pressures that make personal budgeting feel almost impossible sometimes.
Because this generation, they're kind of caught in a perfect storm. High costs, unprecedented debt levels. It's rough.
Okay, lay it on us. You mentioned some shocking data before we started.
Right. And this data point really reframes the whole struggle. Get this. Despite having a significantly lower average annual income, we're talking around $22,000.
Subscribe now, tap the bell, and drop your thoughts in the comments.
$924 a year on average.
Wow, okay.
Gen Z actually holds the highest average personal debt compared to both millennials and Gen X.
Hey, hang on. If they're earning less, how on earth are they carrying more debt? More than generations who've been working longer, earning more? That doesn't immediately make sense.
It's a huge red flag, right? It signals intense financial strain. Gen Z's average personal debt is reportedly $94,101.
$94,000.
$94,000. And that just dwarfs the millennial average of around $59,000 and Gen X at about $53,000.
That's staggering.
It really is. And this difference, this disparity, it shows they're fundamentally struggling to maintain life, cover necessary daily spending, often just accumulating debt to exist.
Okay, that completely changes the conversation then. So our mission today for you listening is basically to give you a shortcut. We want to separate those really massive fixed cost problems, the systemic stuff, from the smaller leaks, and then give you a practical 30-day playbook to start tackling these big structural issues head on.
Exactly. Let's start with that crushing weight, what we're calling the systemic squeeze. Because honestly, the financial pressure here, it's rooted in forces way outside of just personal discipline or willpower.
Right. So when we talk about those big fixed costs, the ones that just shatter a budget before you even start, housing has got to be number one, right? What's the data say about rent impact?
Oh, absolutely. It's the single biggest anchor dragging down budgets.
Yeah.
Approximately 3/5. That's a huge number. 3 out of 5 Gen Z renters are officially considered rent-burdened.
And rent-burdened means spending over 30% of your income just on rent.
Precisely. Over 30% just to keep a roof over their head. And that's the reality in most major U.S. metro areas.
But is that mostly just, the super expensive places like New York, San Francisco? Does that hold up in, say, smaller cities or mid-level markets too?
Well, the data is pretty grim across the board, unfortunately. But yes, it definitely gets worse in those major economic hubs. Take an extreme example, like Los Angeles.
Okay.
In L.A., that rent burden for Gen Z, it can eat up around 42% of their total income.
42%? Wow.
Yeah, imagine almost half your paycheck just gone, vanished, before you even think about groceries, transportation, anything else. When fixed costs are that high, the budget is kind of broken from day one.
Yeah, it's unsustainable. And it's not just rent that's exploding, right? We hear a lot about grocery prices, but there's this other thing, this sort of stealth inflation happening with services you have to pay for.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Motor vehicle insurance is a perfect example. It's a major driver of service inflation, often creeping up without much notice. We're seeing increases around, say, 5.3% year over year recently.
And that's just the average, right? For some people, maybe with an older car or if they just moved, it could jump way higher.
Exactly. It can be much higher depending on individual circumstances.
Hit subscribe, turn on the bell,
and let me know your thoughts.
Right.
And think about it, this is a massive, largely uncontrollable expense. It can just instantly blow up an otherwise reasonable budget.
Yeah.
And it forces people to dip into credit cards or savings, if they have any, just to cover existing commitments they thought they had handled.
Ugh. So when you feel like you're doing everything right, tracking expenses, trying to save, but the system keeps hitting you with these unexpected, unavoidable increases in rent and insurance, it must mess with your head.
Totally. It leads directly to this recognized psychological factor researchers call doom spending.
Doom spending. Okay, explain that.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually kind of rational, psychologically speaking, even if it's financially destructive long-term.
Right.
When people feel really pessimistic about their economic future.
Like, I'll never afford a house anyway.
Exactly. Or, I'll be paying off student loans forever. When that hopelessness sets in, they often stop trying to optimize for the long run. Instead, they might make these small, impulsive purchases.
For that little dopamine hit.
Precisely. For some short-term joy, or even just a fleeting sense of control in a situation that feels uncontrollable, they buy the $80 sneakers or the expensive takeout because, hey, what's the point of saving?
Right. Which, of course, just digs the debt hole deeper. A vicious cycle.
A classic vicious cycle.
Okay, that feeling of hopelessness, that doom spending.
Yeah.
It often bleeds right into those common, maybe smaller mistakes we make, the little money leaks that quietly drain the checking account. And I'll confess, my first one, and I know I'm not alone here, falling into the buy now, pay later trap, BNPL.
Oh, yeah. BNPL is, it's designed brilliantly from a psychological perspective. Splitting that payment makes any big purchase feel instantly less painful, more manageable upfront.
Feels like you can afford it right now.
Exactly. But the data, it's pretty clear. BNPL now accounts for the highest share of unsecured debt among young adults. And what's really worrying
What's that?
is that it's increasingly being used not just for wants, but for essentials. Things like groceries.
Wow. Using BNPL for groceries, that's a major signal of serious financial strain, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It means people don't have the cash flow for basic necessities. And the immediate danger, the short-term risk, is huge too. It feels like you're managing, but you could be setting yourself up for a credit disaster.
How so? What's the direct risk?
Well, the data shows a staggering 41%, nearly half of BNPL users admitted to missing at least one payment in a recent 12-month period.
41%.
Yep, and each missed payment, that's a potential major hit to your credit score, which then impacts your ability to get approved for an apartment, get a decent car loan, you name it, down the road.
Okay, I can personally vouch for how tricky this gets. I had like 4 small BNPL things going at once. Each one seemed manageable, maybe $60 here, $100 there.
Right, individually small.
Yeah, but then the due dates all clustered within the same week. And that exact same week, my car insurance bill suddenly spiked, way higher than expected.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and because all those BNPL payments hit at once, plus the insurance shock, my credit card was immediately maxed out. I just didn't have the cash buffer to handle the combined total hitting simultaneously.
See, that is precisely the mechanism of the trap. It's not usually the size of the initial purchase that gets you. It's the complexity of managing multiple payment schedules and how the aggregate total of those seemingly small installments suddenly swamps a lower income, especially when those unavoidable fixed costs surge unexpectedly, like your insurance did.
It's the complexity that makes total sense. And that complexity, that feeling of juggling too many small things, leads right into the next big leak, doesn't it? The insidious delivery creep and subscription overload.
Oh, definitely. We look at, say, $15 for one streaming service and think, that's cheap.
Yeah, no big deal.
Individually, maybe, but collectively, all those forgotten subscriptions are a silent killer for your budget. Research shows Americans spend around $69 per month just on streaming video.
$69 just for video.
Just video. That doesn't even count gym apps,
Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, like the vid, and keep it rolling.
music streaming, gaming passes, cloud storage, maybe software tools you need for work or side hustles. It all adds up incredibly fast.
And food delivery is just as bad, maybe worse with inflation. You mentioned service inflation is up like nearly 4% year over year for food away from home.
That's right.
So those quick $15 meal orders, once you tack on the delivery fee, the service fee, maybe taxes, and then, the expected tip, it easily turns into a $25 or $30 transaction.
Every single time.
I actually looked at my bank statement recently, kind of forced myself to add it up,
Right.
and I realized I was hemorrhaging like nearly $200 a month just on food delivery. It was shocking.
It happens so easily because those extra fees are often designed to be a bit hidden until the final checkout screen. You're already committed. Now, okay, so if these short-term leaks, the BNPL and subscriptions and delivery are bad, the third critical mistake is the one that really destroys the long game. And that's ignoring the power of compounding.
Ah, the classic. This is where we tell ourselves those comforting myths, right? Like, oh, retirement is like 40 years away, I've got time, or I just don't have enough money to even think about saving or investing right now.
Exactly, those myths. So we delay building that safety net. We delay investing. And the problem is that safety net is desperately thin for many young people right now.
How thin are we talking?
When we look specifically at Gen Z, surveys show they have the lowest confidence in their emergency funds compared to other generations. And the median cushion, the typical amount they have saved for emergencies, is only about $400.
$400? Wait, how does that even happen? Is that purely lack of income, or is it that the systemic stuff we talked about, the high rent, the rising insurance, is just eating up everything, leaving nothing left to put into savings?
It's definitely a combination of both. Lower average incomes play a role for sure. But that systemic squeeze, those high fixed costs, absolutely forces the issue for many.
Makes sense.
When your rent is taking 40% of your income, there's just mathematically less available to save. So when something inevitably goes wrong, the car breaks down, you have an unexpected medical bill or copay.
Which always happens.
Right, life happens.
Yeah.
With only $400, you have basically no buffer. You have no choice but to immediately reach for high-interest credit cards or maybe even use BNPL for those essentials.
So instead of compounding wealth through saving or investing,
You're actively compounding debt. You're paying interest on interest, digging the hole deeper instead of letting your money grow for you. It's the exact opposite of what you want.
okay, wow. We have thoroughly diagnosed the problems, both the big systemic ones and the sort of personal habit leaks. But the good news is we can build a counter strategy, right? There are things people can do.
Absolutely. There are definitely actionable steps.
So what does the 30-day playbook look like? Where do we start?
Okay, the key is to focus on the high ROI moves first. The things that give you the biggest bang for your buck, or rather, your time and effort. So we have to attack those fixed costs first.
Makes sense. Get the big rocks out of the jar.
Exactly. Let's start with car insurance, since we know inflation is hitting it particularly hard right now.
Right, you said motor vehicle insurance inflation is soaring, like 5.3% year over year on average. So this is actually a place where we might have some leverage.
You absolutely do. Here's the action plan. You need to make 3 phone calls. Call your current insurer and at least 2 competitors. Do this every 6 to 12 months.
Okay, what do I ask for?
Be explicit. Ask about telematics. That means asking if they offer discounts for using those safe driving trackers, the little plug-in devices or apps. If you're a safe driver, this can prove it and lower your premium.
Okay, telematics. Got it. What else?
Also, always ask about bundling. Can you save money by bundling your car insurance with your renter's insurance, or maybe even homeowners if applicable? Often the discount is significant. This simple action making those calls, asking those specific questions, it takes maybe an hour, but it can directly counteract that systemic 5.3% or more inflation hit.
That is fantastic practical advice. And it gets you potentially way more money back than, say, skipping coffee for a month.
Precisely. Focus on the big wins. Now for housing, the other huge fixed cost.
Yeah, what's the target there?
The standard advice holds true for a reason. Aim to keep your rent at or below 30% of your net income, your take-home pay.
Okay, 30% max. But what if you live in one of those high-cost cities like LA where you said it could be 42%? Is 30% even realistic?
It's tough, no doubt. If you're in a very high cost of living area, maybe you stretch that to 35% max. But if you find your rent is creeping higher than that, that is your immediate, flashing red light signal.
A non-negotiable cue.
Absolutely. It's your non-negotiable cue to seriously explore options. That means looking into getting a roommate, maybe checking out co-living situations, or potentially even considering a move to a slightly less expensive neighborhood or city, if feasible. You have to get that housing cost down to a survivable level.
Got it. Optimize the big fixed costs first. Insurance calls, housing reality check. Okay, once we've tackled those, how do we systemize the rest of the budget to prevent those leaks we talked about?
Great question. Now we bring in a system. The 50-30-20 rule is a really solid framework.
Okay, remind us what that is.
Simple. 50% of your take-home pay goes towards needs, rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance minimums. 30% goes towards wants, dining out, entertainment, hobbies, shopping. And crucially, 20% goes immediately towards savings or debt repayment.
Needs, wants, savings, debt. 50, 30, 20.
Right. And the absolute key to making this stick, especially the 20% part, is automation. The minute your paycheck hits your checking account, set up an automatic transfer. Send a set amount, even if it's just $25 or $50, to start directly to a separate savings account. Don't even let yourself see it or touch it.
Ah, the classic pay yourself first strategy.
It's classic because it works. You prioritize your future self before discretionary spending temptations kick in.
And thinking about that safety net, that weak $400 median emergency fund for Gen Z really needs an immediate boost. What should be the very first savings goal?
Priority number 1. Hit $1,000 in that emergency fund.
$1,000.
Yep. That's the first psychological and financial protective barrier. It's not a huge amount, but getting past that Gen Z median and hitting $1,000 makes you exponentially less likely to panic and reach for a high-interest credit card when that unexpected car repair bill hits.
Right. It helps break that cycle of compounding debt we talked about. It gives you breathing room.
Exactly. It stops the debt cycle before it even starts. That $1,000 is your first line of defense.
Okay, love that. So first grand in the emergency fund. Now, let's talk about sealing those leaks. How do we manage the temptation of BNPL, especially now that it's everywhere, without maybe having to give up on accessing credit entirely?
Good point. It's about management, not necessarily total avoidance for everyone. The key is setting firm boundaries. Implement what I call a BNPL safety cap.
Okay, a safety cap. What does that mean?
Limit your total outstanding BNPL obligations across all the different apps you might use to no more than 5% of your monthly net income.
5% max. That forces you to be selective.
Very selective. And maybe even more importantly, create a fixed payment calendar. Don't just rely on app notifications. Write down the due dates for all your BNPL payments. Put them in your phone calendar, whatever system works for you.
Why is the calendar so critical?
So those due dates don't sneak up on you and overlap, causing that cash flow crunch we discussed, especially when your big fixed costs like rent are also due. Visibility prevents surprises.
Makes sense. Manage the total amount, manage the due dates. Okay, what about the dreaded subscription audit? It always feels like such a chore.
It can feel overwhelming, I get it. So don't just think of it as a one-time thing. Conduct a 90-day audit. Make it a recurring task, maybe quarterly. Go through your bank and credit card statements line by line.
And be ruthless.
Be honest with yourself about what you actually use and value. And here's a great strategy to cut costs without total deprivation. The 1-month rotation for streaming services.
Ooh, interesting. How does that work?
Instead of subscribing to Netflix, Hulu, Max, Disney Plus all at the same time, only subscribe to one service per month. Binge what you want on that platform, then cancel and switch to another one the next month.
Ah, smart. You still get access to the content eventually, but you're only paying, what, $15, $20 a month instead of that $69 average?
Exactly. It dramatically cuts the cost while still letting you watch the shows you care about. It just requires a little planning.
That's a great habit change. Okay, and finally, food delivery. Since we know food service inflation is still high, just setting a dollar cap might be hard to stick to if prices keep rising. Is there a better way to control that delivery creep?
Yeah, I think switching from a dollar cap to a frequency cap often works better psychologically and practically with inflation.
A frequency cap, meaning?
Instead of saying, I'll only spend $100 on delivery, which might only get you 3 orders one month and for the next, set a hard limit on the number of times you'll eat out or order delivery per month. For example, say maximum 6 times per month or whatever number fits your budget and goals.
Ah, I see. So you focus on changing the behavior, the frequency, rather than chasing a moving dollar target.
Precisely. It helps manage the habit and the impact of inflation more effectively than constantly adjusting a budget line that inflation keeps messing with.
Okay, frequency cap for food. Got it. And one last crucial number you mentioned for building long-term financial stability, credit utilization. What's the target there?
Super important. Keep your credit utilization, that's the ratio of how much debt you currently carry on your credit cards, versus your total available credit limit, under 30%.
Under 30%.
That's the general guideline for good credit health. But ideally, for those really focused on building or optimizing their credit score, aiming for 10 to 20% utilization is even better.
Why is that number so important?
Because lenders see high utilization as a sign of risk. Keeping it low shows you manage credit responsibly. And a healthy credit score impacts almost every major financial transaction in your life. Renting an apartment, getting good rates on car loans or mortgages, even sometimes cell phone plans or insurance premiums. It matters a lot.
Okay, fantastic. So wrapping up this deep dive then, it feels like the core message is that financial peace, especially for Gen Z, isn't really found by obsessing over every single coffee purchase.
Not at all.
It requires tackling those huge, often invisible systemic pressures, first negotiating that rent down, fighting back against insurance hikes, and then systematically sealing up the individual leaks, like getting smart about BNPL overlaps and those sneaky subscriptions.
That's exactly it.
The goal maybe isn't perfection or instant wealth, right? It's about gaining a sense of control in a system that often feels uncontrollable.
Well said. Control and peace of mind. And if you take just one final thought away from our conversation today, let it be this.
Yeah.
The single most powerful financial move you can probably make right now, especially if you're young, is to start investing early. Specifically, making absolutely sure you contribute enough to your workplace retirement plan, like a 401k or maybe a Roth IRA if offered, to capture the full employer match.
Ah, the match. That is truly the definition of free money, isn't it?
It is literally free money, and it's free money that gets the longest time to grow exponentially thanks to compounding. If you leave that match on the table, that potential growth is just lost. Forever.
Right.
It is arguably the easiest, highest return money you will ever earn in your entire life. Delaying getting that match. You're basically compounding your future regrets. Don't do it.
Fantastic, powerful, and really actionable advice that cuts right through the noise. Thank you. Okay, now we really want to hear from you listening. Thinking about those big fixed costs we dug into, which one feels like it's squeezing your budget the hardest right now? Is it the crazy rent crisis? Is it that stealth insurance inflation? Or maybe it's the complexity of managing BNPL debt. Drop a comment below, let us know which battle you're fighting, and maybe share your plan. We'd love to hear it. And of course, if you found this useful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive into the numbers and strategies that define your financial life.